What's up, folks? Welcome back to another episode of All Things Baltimore Sports Foul Ball Talk, brought to you by the Great Eight Sports Memorabilia in Parkville, Maryland, on the Drive Into the Top Productions podcasting network. I'm the host, Matt Trigger. We have a special guest host tonight. Tim is on the 7-day IL, as I advertised earlier. Tim, I hope you feel better soon, buddy. I know that you look forward to these shows every week, and as do I. But we have a special guest host tonight at the recommendation of Tim. He is the host of Pigtown Sports, and he is a frequent commenter, and he has not missed a show yet. Zach Moore. Zach, what is going on, buddy?
What's up, Matt? Appreciate you bringing me in.
Hey, I appreciate you coming on. It's been quite the week in Birdland. And before we get started, man, I want to congratulate you for joining Glenn Clark yesterday on 105.7 The Fan to talk some Orioles. How was that experience for you?
I was nervous as anything. I won't even lie to you. It was a lot of fun, though. I mean, I was definitely appreciative, Glenn, of getting me on there. But I was shaking like crazy.
Yeah, I worked a little bit of overtime yesterday, so I had to catch I had to catch it online after I got off of work. But you sounded like you'd been doing it for years, man. So congratulations to you for getting on the Fan. I know it's a good experience, especially when you're not used to being on the radio a whole lot.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, we had some good conversations. I mean, we talked, about potential trade guys. We talked about, the Orioles pitching, injuries, of course, Juan Soto,
So absolutely. It was a lot. You guys covered a lot in the brief period that you were on there. And it was cool to see you interacting with Glenn. I've had Glenn on the show, so Glenn's a good guy. I am a fan of his work. But the last week there, Zach, we are currently, we just finished up the ass whooping of the Yankees. We beat them 17-5 in the series finale today, and we put the boots to them pretty good. We had a 6-run second inning. The last two series with the Phillies and the Yankees, we went 4-2. That's a pretty good record for that stretch. How do you feel like the series went, because they got a little bit dicey?
I mean, I feel like the Yankees are intimidated of the Orioles a little bit, and they were trying to. They know that they're young, and I feel like they were trying to get under their skin, in their head a little bit. And I think Brandon Hyde did a really good job of keeping these guys hey, just focus on the win. I made a post about it on Twitter too, and I feel like once you win this season series, right? So now they're up 5-2 in the season series, right? It's only a 13-game series. You secure that tiebreaker over the Yankees. Who knows what's going to happen that final 3 games of the year? They might go all out. I don't know. But right now it's just, let's go win baseball games. Let's take care of business. Let's secure what we can control. We'll worry about the rest later. It's kind of how I viewed this series, where the Yankees were just, let me just see how much crap I can stir and see if I can get one of these 20-some-year-old kids to crack, and they didn't. So I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, it definitely was cool. I definitely thought that, it was a lot of Bush League tactics by the Yankees, a lot of crying. Their fans have been insufferable the last couple of days on social media.
Yeah,
it's rough to listen to, because we've been the butt of their jokes for 2 decades.
Yep. And I think that's a little bit why they're finally intimidated, is they don't have anybody to pick on anymore. And we've been kind of owning them the last 2 years. I actually pulled some stats.
Yeah, that's
from
true,
this
and
series.
it's crazy.
Sorry, but I pulled some stats from the series.
Would you pull up from the series?
We hit 308 as a team. We went 38 for 123 with 5 home runs, 12 doubles, 25 RBIs, 11 walks, and 6 stolen bases. And that was, we all know that offense was dead silent in game 1. So they virtually just beat the brakes off the Yankees the final 2 games of the series with Cade Povich on the mound, who almost unraveled pretty early, and then Cole Irvin. I mean, you can cry and say Judge wasn't healthy or not, but Judge wasn't helping your two stars on the mound that just got pummeled. I mean, it just is what it is.
Oh, absolutely. They definitely it was boots to ass for the last 2 games of the series. We had like I said earlier on the opening, we had a 6-run second inning, and they just unraveled relatively quickly tonight.
Yeah, they definitely did. I mean, it almost looked like the first pitch of the game. It looked like Soto was trying to do the Soto shuffle out in right field. Like his GPS was all over the place, and it just spiraled out of control from there.
Yeah, it did, and this is going to be a battle. It seems like all the way to the end of the season, and not only are the Orioles and the Yankees leading the division, as of earlier today, the Red Sox were on a 5-game heater right now, so it's going to get a little bit competitive in the AL East heading into the dog days of summer, and Zach, I know you watch our show every week, and a couple, and here we are, and now Kyle Bradish has his second Tommy John surgery. Coloma isn't expected back until the last month of the year. Tyler Wells, John Means already on the shelf. Dean Kramer's not expected back until the end of next week. Is it time to hit the panic button?
I want to say no. I think they could go out and benefit from acquiring another pitcher. They came out today and said that Jackson, Mayo, Basayo, and I forget the fourth one. I'm sorry. Oh, Kerstad. They are untouchable. So they're not going to go out and acquire a Skubal or, Mason Miller. We can put all that to bed because the top 4 guys are done. The bullpen is a lot better than people realize. I think it's just at this point you just need an innings eater in the starting rotation. A guy, look, I like Suarez and I'm appreciative of what he's done, but he's barely going 5 innings every time, and it kind of strains the bullpen a little bit. I would like a guy, and just one more guy that could go 6, potentially 7, maybe 8. If he's really on that night. I think that's probably their biggest need. I mean, the bullpen alone is when I last looked at it before the Glenn show, they were ranked 3rd in baseball. And so even in the Phillies series, right, the bullpen went 11 innings and only gave up 2 runs with 16 strikeouts. They pitched to a 1.63 ERA. And then you turn to this Yankees series, they went 14.2 innings, gave up 6 runs, right? We know yesterday's game was a little awkward. And then they had 7 Ks. So they pitched a 3.8 ERA with one pretty terrible game. I mean, the bullpen, although you could probably say nobody trusts really anybody in that bullpen, they collectively pitch good enough to where I don't think you need to deplete the farm, but just bring in like a Cal Cantrell, bring in like a quality number 3, number 4 arm that's just going to just go out and eat innings. And that's really all they need. Maybe one bat too, but
we've seen a lot of names being kicked around. Tim and I have kicked around Jesus Luzardo quite often, and Garrett Crochet is going to cost a lot. So
did you see their asking price?
Their asking price is astronomical. Same thing for the Tigers with Skubal. There's 2 names that were kicked around on the radio the last couple days. As I posted on the comment from JP from your side of YouTube, Jack Flaherty. I don't know if we want to necessarily travel down that road again, because I think if we wanted to keep him, we would have kept him.
Yeah,
even though he's having a fantastic year, he would help the starting rotation heading into the second half of the year. But also, Kyle Gibson was mentioned again. He's a bulldog. He's an innings eater.
Yeah.
But do you really want to give up prospects for guys that we had on this pitching staff a year ago.
If they were like Aberdeen and lower, sure. But that's it. But you're not giving away an Aberdeen or lower player for Flaherty, who's second in with strikeouts in the league. Like, it's just, I don't know. To me, if they're gonna, they have to make one pitcher inquire, because in 2025 they don't have that many pitchers even rostered, because they're all on Tommy John. If Burns leaves, right? If Burns stays, they're in a better position. But if not, I mean, you have Grayson, Dean, and Povich and Irvin, and that's it.
That's
not good enough.
That's not a lot.
It's not good enough either.
Because how many years in a row are you going to expect Irvin to pitch the way he did?
Right. I mean,
he's
Irvin's
looked having better, a good year.
The mechanics are better, but how long does it last?
And I mean, you can even ask that question for this year. How long until the wheels fall off? And I hate to be a pessimist about it, because Cole Irvin's having a career year in terms of pitching. But are you going to get 30 quality, if he has 30 starts, are you going to get 16, 17 quality starts and expect him to pitch well into October?
Right. Yeah. His numbers suggest that he will finally hit the wall. I mean, he's like ranked like 120th in like, whiff rates and soft contact and chase rates, like everything. He's like skyrocketed with like hard hit and barrel percentage. Like, it's just a matter of time before somebody tags him. And then I don't want to say it's going to spiral out of control, but patterns will start happening. And he's a good 5, but he's not a guy that I want to run out as my number 3 in October. He's a guy I wouldn't mind coming out of the pen in the lefty matchup. That's about it. He gets lefties out, but numbers suggest that he will eventually get caught up on.
And that's worrisome, because now it's not like he's the number 5 guy or your spot starter in a 6-man rotation. He's now technically the number 3.
Right.
And that's scary. That's terrifying, because you don't know what you're getting. You don't know what you're getting out of Dean when he gets back.
Yeah.
I mean, Dean's had health issues, it seems like, all year long. And G-Rod is he's coming into his own as an ace. And it seems like you're guaranteed almost a win every single time Corbin steps on the mound. So you're at least getting one win every 5 days, but you don't want to rely on that, because for a while we weren't giving Burns a whole lot of run support until recently.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's they're going to have to do something, and it's kind of scary to think like you're going to have to give up someone. I mean, I know you say that, the big 4 is untouchable, but ideally you need somebody under control to 26 to 27, maybe 2030. I don't care. Like, you're going to have to give up at least one big guy. We all know it's not going to be Jackson, right? Likely is not going to be Basayo. It's probably Kjerstad. There's a lot of teams that could use Kjerstad as an everyday player that could potentially give up a really good player. It would never happen. My ideal situation would somehow Kansas City got desperate for an outfielder and sent us Brady Singer. Would never happen, but that's just my dream scenario.
I think they believe I think that they're still in a situation where they think that they're competitive, and
they are.
And realistically, you're right. They are. It's all subjective. 3 team in the league in terms of record.
Yeah. It's I mean, a Fetty would be okay. He's not going to cost as much. I like Fetty. I think he's through 26. He might cost you a Norby. I'm praying that the Cubs start losing. I know their fans are over it. But the Cubs have quite a few arms that we could use. If you wanted to make, a quick Band-Aid, Luis Severino. I mean, the Mets are going to sell everybody here shortly. So, I mean, and they have a reliever that is one of my like top two guys is Reed Garrett. Big, swing and miss guy. The bullpen, while they're good, needs a swing and miss guy. So they need to go get either like a Reed Garrett or a Kyle Finnegan from the Nationals. Tanner Scott, I love Tanner, even Hunter Harvey. Both the Nationals and the Marlins are asking for the moon for just quality players. I mean, they flat out said they want Basayo for Luzardo straight up. Like
and that's never
value Luzardo that much. It's crazy. So I mean, there's a guy that I really like, and he's kind of really flying under the radar. Colin Holderman from the Pirates is having a sneaky season, and he's not even used much. But he's got like a 98 point, he's an average of 98.5 mile an hour fastball. I don't know if he came up late or what the deal was, but he's got low innings, but he's got high Ks. So it might be a little name. And I think he's controllable to 2030. Like I would throw a good prospect at a guy throwing 98, 99 miles an hour.
Yeah. Another name that I've been seeing a lot lately, and this is the complete opposite of control because he's old and he's going to cost a load of money to bring here, even though I'm sure Houston would probably eat a good portion of his money, is Justin Verlander. He's got World Series experience. He's got playoff experience. And if you have Verlander behind G-Rod and Corbin Burns and you needed to win that 5-game series, is Verlander out of the question?
He's hit the IL for the second time yesterday, I think it was. His health is starting to become a question. It would have to be cheap because of the contract. Because he's still signed for 2 more years, I think. And he's already 42 or something like that. It would have to be like a very low level prospect, like Delmarva type for me, and not one of like the top international guys that's in Delmarva right now either. I seen Tim say Trout. I looked really hard into Trout, and Trout is affordable prospect wise. But you got to pay him $35 million over the next like 5 to 7 years, and that's just out of the question. Trout's going to be 43 and pretty much in a wheelchair by the time he's done with his contract.
As much as I like Trout in the same way that I liked Ken Griffey Jr. Ken Griffey Jr. was my favorite non-Oriole growing up, and I equate Trout to Griffey in a lot of ways. The natural power, the being loyal to one team, or I know Griffey bounced around later in his career, but Trout deserves a chance at a ring.
Yeah.
I truly believe that. And I think he can play left field here. I don't even think he need to play center.
Yeah. It's just keeping him healthy. And I don't know how you even do it anymore. Like he has the most freak accidents and then he's out for weeks. I mean, he's already missed his comeback time for a meniscus repair. I mean, he's like 2 weeks behind schedule already. Part of me wonders like if it's just miserable being at the Angels or
I think he's checked out. I think he's checked out in the same vein that while we were just talking about Verlander a second ago, I think Verlander is probably checked out because the Houston Astros are really bad. And I bring his name up, and so does Tim. The Houston Astros have been they're so bad, and their pitching staff is so decimated right now that they've been rumored to be linked to Trevor Bauer. And a lot of people have been on Baltimore Twitter and Baltimore Orioles Twitter and Baltimore Orioles Facebook fan groups. As much as Trevor Bauer makes sense from a baseball perspective, I don't see Elias adding him to the locker room and blowing up the chemistry that we got right now. We're still we're a game and a half out of first.
Yeah.
There's a chance we can overtake the Yankees. I've cooled on it a little bit because I think that we can realistically go get somebody that's equal to his talent. You just have to give up prospects, and it's not going to blow up your chemistry. If you want to get somebody that's similar in in the style, you go get the Mets pitcher that you just brought up, Quintana, right? You know,
Severino.
I'm sorry, Severino.
Yeah.
I said Quintana because I saw him pitching earlier. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying Bauer's, Severino or anything like that, but you can go get somebody that's a strikeout artist,
Right.
and has a little bit of that dog in them, as opposed to blowing up the chemistry. Because the thing is, a signing like Bauer, you're going to have to ask everybody on your 26-man roster, plus your coaches and your GM if you're comfortable. I mean, and your owner if they're comfortable, even giving him a $750,000 contract.
Right. Yeah.
It's just where we are with that.
Let me ask you something crazy. As bad as Houston is, who out of the big four would you give up to acquire Kyle Tucker and Framber Valdez?
At the big four, okay, thinking logically, and I'm thinking about the way the roster is constructed for the next couple of years, and it's a good question because you could get both of those guys, and they're instant game changers to this, not only the lineup but the rotation as well. I believe it would be Basayo, and I'm gonna preface it by saying Basayo is blocked at two positions. He's a catcher and a first baseman. You're not going to move Adley to first this early in his career. And the way Ryan Mountcastle's playing right now, I think that he plays into our plans long term at first base.
Yeah.
Now, does he hit 280, 285 the rest of the year? I don't know, but he's in contention to make the All-Star team. He's a good hitter. He's an excellent defender. He's a plus defender. He's mastered first base. So Basayo can net you arguably more than Kjerstad or Mayo. Mayo's now having injury issues. Even though it was a complete free accident, is he going to come back at full power for the rest of the year, knowing that he hurt his ribs? So that's a I mean, it's a legitimate question. I'm not trying to be unfair about it, but
no, did you see his rehab stint?
I did not. I've been working like crazy.
he hit 3 bombs at Aberdeen.
Okay, well, I mean, I'm not trying to. He's right back to it, but it's also Aberdeen. But I'm not. I'm trying to be objective here. It is Aberdeen. I want to see us. I think we have to come up off of one of those big four that they were talking about that you mentioned. They're not coming off of. They're not coming off a holiday unless it gets you somebody like a Trout or a Skubal or somebody. Right. I don't think Holiday's worth Crochet, no matter what people say. I know he's on a good streak of starts right now, but I think Crochet would probably cost us Basayo and somebody like Norby.
Yeah.
Plus a couple minor league arms. But who would you pick out of the four for that deal from Houston?
I feel like Houston, with them potentially losing Bregman, being a free agent, they would be more inclined to fill third base. I forget what's the catcher's name, Christian Javier or something like that. He's pretty good. I mean, he was a rookie last year, and he impressed me in the postseason and the few series that we played against him. So I don't know if catcher is exactly something that they would want to acquire. I think they would lean more towards Mayo personally. Maybe. Now, Mayo has more of defensive issues. I mean, Bregman was an absolute vacuum. So maybe they don't either. It's really hard to tell. I feel like it would be a 5 to 6 player deal, though. I mean, Kyle Tucker's a potential MVP player anytime he steps foot on the field. So, I mean, I don't even care if he knows how to play center field. Throw him in center field. Like, he changes the game with his bat, and he's left-handed, which we know Mike Elias has fun with. So, I mean, it's
he definitely does.
I'm not 100% sure. I'm not keen. Like, I'm with you. I like Basayo, and I think he's potential to be the next number 1 overall prospect in either 25 or 26. I think he's movable out of any of the other ones, though, because you already have a position for the other 3 where he's kind of like, can he maybe learn first base? I mean, he's got a great arm. I mean, if he sticks behind the plate, like, you'll get a Gary Sanchez behind the plate, a guy who will not get you some strikes, but he'll throw guys out and he'll hit a ton of bombs. But he's bigger, so blocking might be an issue, but it depends. I feel like the way the Orioles are constructed, though, they want to start 2 catchers, so it might play out. I don't know.
I agree with you, but it's different starting 2 catchers, in a 7-day stretch where McCann's going to McCann is serviceable. He's that vet. He's that grizzled guy. He's not really much of the bat anymore, but he can still handle the staff very well.
Right.
So that's why I think McCann still gets at bats. I thought when we traded for Blake Hunt that they were going to DFA McCann or they were going to carry 3 catchers, honestly.
I think they were close.
Yeah, I believe so, that they were close as well. I understand Basayo is young and he has the potential, but right now the Orioles have a problem where they have a lot of hitters and position players in this organization in the minors that are going to be major league ready between present day and 2026. Because we haven't even talked about, I mean, I know that Tim and I talk about them a lot, but on the, for the purpose of the show, you still have Enrique Bradfield Jr. down in the minors. You still have Dylan Beavers down in the minors. You still have Judd Fabian down in the minors. You still have a lot of guys that can. You still have Connor Norby down there. You have a lot of guys that can hit and play multiple positions. We have a generational catcher on the major league roster right now.
Right.
And it's hard to say, oh, well, we got another top, 5 prospect, and he's a catcher in the organization as well. You don't want to have that dynamic where Adley and Basayo are switching at catcher every other night. I think that ruins continuity.
Yeah. Have you, because of this, I have heard grumblings that Fabian may be on the block. Matt Etzel at Bowie is already fitting in. The guy just turned 22, just got promoted to Bowie, right? He's played 7 games. He's already got 8 hits. He's hitting 308, and he's already got 5 steals. He's a left-handed hitting center fielder. Like that, you're just throwing another wrinkle right into all your outfield plans with a 10th rounder who wasn't supposed to be doing this.
You're right. We have a good problem, and I think on the contrary, there's not many arms in the minors that we really, can see in the majors. So I think we're going to go out and buy some arms, whether it's at the deadline or in the off season, preferably the deadline. But we're going to have to get some legitimate arms in here because after McDermott, it doesn't really seem like there's a whole lot. I like the kid Nestor German, but he's years away. He's 26, 27.
Bowie's got a handful of guys with a sub-3 ERA. Granted, it's just at Bowie. Like, we don't know what they're going to do at AAA. AAA's got a couple good arms too. Brandon Young recently got promoted there and is throwing the ball very, very well. Outside after McDermott, though, there's no high strikeout guys. It might be an organizational thing because I've noticed a shift even in the big leagues. They pitch to contact a lot now, and it could be because across the diamond you have very good defenders. Why not use them? I'm not sure. So there's a couple really good arms that haven't made the full leap yet to be major league ready, but they're on the list as, okay, we might see this guy in a year or two in the bullpen, see what he got kind of thing. So there's some there. I just think it's going to take a little bit. I mean, Luis De Leon, I believe his name's De Leon at Aberdeen, just got promoted to Aberdeen. He's 21 and just absolutely chucking the ball. So, I mean, I think they're starting to move some of these younger guys that are starting to perform. I still want to know why Riley Cooper's in Delmarva. I mean, the guy was just, throwing scuds down at LSU for winning a national championship 2 years ago. And he's just sitting in Delmarva. They're worried about his weight. I get it, but Lance Lynn's still getting guys out in the big league. So, I don't want to hear the excuse. The dude has 30 or 40 more strikeouts and he does innings pitched. Please move him up to see, just give him a test just to see if he's worth worrying about the weight concerns. Because you can be worried about the weight, but if he's just getting kids out in Delmarva, like it does nobody any good. So that's probably my only question with the pitching. But there's some there. So it's just a matter of when they start really making that jump.
Right. And that's a fair assessment. I mean, you hit the nail on the head that some of these guys are just, still down in the lower part of the minors. And once they work their way up, I think we'll see something. But I think we're just so inundated with hitters right now and position
Yeah.
players that it's all now we're looking at the roster and it's like, okay, the guys that Tim and I have been harping on the last month, and I know you made a video about them on your channel, which was a very good video, by the way. Anthony Santander has woken up,
Yeah.
and he's making it real hard right now to still say that he's trade bait, even though he probably is realistically, because I don't think
Yeah.
he's going to be here to see this complete Orioles resurgence through, which is unfortunate to say. And I think the same can be said for Austin Hayes, who had another home run today, off of a left-handed pitcher. A couple of our commenters mentioned, guys on the major league roster. Do you think Urias has any trade value right now?
Yes. Not high, obviously. Like he would be like a third, fourth piece, but he's a gold glover. I mean, a gold glove is never going to lose value. Like, look at the Yankees, right? Do you think the Yankees would rather have Jahmai Jones or Urias? Like, if they had to come into the game with an injury, pretty much every good team in baseball would take Urias as a defensive replacement.
Yeah, that's true, and it's crazy. You dropped, Jahmai Jones. He was here during the COVID years.
Yeah.
That's a blast from the past kind of thing. If you remember, paying attention to the 100 lost teams.
Yeah. Yeah, remember he was supposed to be the starting second baseman. I forget, it was like the last couple days of spring training. Some freak accident happened and he had to stay down there for 2 months or something.
Yeah,
could have been our starting second baseman for a while. I mean, who knows?
That's very true. I'm with you on the Urias trade value. I think that he's a piece to a bigger deal. I don't think that he's going to net you anything. He's not going to net you a major league bullpen arm. He's not going to net you a major league fourth outfielder or anything of that nature. But I think that he would be a kind of a cherry on top to a deal for a Severino or somebody of that ilk.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, people need good gloves. And he's a decent hitter. I think if you started to put him in situations, he would, like Mateo, would start to thrive in certain situations. For a while there, he was just all that we had, and now that he's not, they're starting to pick and choose those situations, and you saw him come out of that slump and really start hitting the ball very well. And I think another team could do the same. I mean, take St. Louis for an instance, right? If they're in it, I mean, they're deep in it. I think they're a game out. If they so choose to flip Arenado because they understand their future, they need a future, they have nothing in the minor leagues. Urias could come right over there. And the way he's hitting this year, it's almost the same player. I mean, obviously Nolan's a better glove, but I mean, it's not a massive fall off if you took a Urias and put him there, and you're still going to fight for the playoffs while getting better at the future at the same time. So there's value for him out there. It's like to us when we traded away Zach Showalter. Zach's going to be a good pitcher, but he was just drafted and absolutely no one knew about him in the minor leagues. That's what you would get for Urias. You just pray that guy would turn out good.
Yeah. I don't think at this point in time Mateo is being considered to be traded anymore. He's essentially locked down second base. And it's crazy that in the beginning of the year we were talking about Mateo not having a particular spot on this team, but he's excellent on the base path. He's a good defender. He's hitting the ball. He's doing everything. He's in the lineup more often than not. So I think
Yeah.
that trading him is not an option right now. And I think Westberg is entrenched at third base.
Hmm.
So there's that issue. So the next logical trade candidate to me would either be Hayes or Santander. Now,
Yeah.
I think Santander would net you more, but if you trade Santander, I don't think you can trade Kerstad at that point
No.
because
No.
because who are you putting in right field?
Yeah. It would either be him or Stowers. I think they view Kerstad as the long-term plan, at least right now. But yeah, I wanted to kind of touch on back what you were saying, like with Mateo breaking out of it. A lot of people want to jump Brandon Hyde's case, but I think what's lost, and especially when you look at this year, I think Brandon Hyde's doing a pretty damn good job because while all the fans are screaming, let's get rid of this guy, myself included, let's get rid of this guy, let's trade this guy, let's get rid of this guy. Him and Mike have just stuck with him. And now every single one of them are breaking out and becoming their normal career player. Not that they're amazing, but they're getting back to that quality player that finds ways to win and is contributing. Like that's good coaching. Like
It's
bad
fantastic coaching.
organizations would get rid of that guy, right? These guys are so loyal to the point that they know their guys are going to break out of it, and then they do. So I think the fans kind of need to pump the brakes a little bit on Brandon.
Here's the thing. Okay, being objective to Hyde, he's handled the position players very well, and he's been
Yeah.
patient and he's been very observant to their weaknesses and their strengths. On the contrary, he doesn't handle the bullpen as well as we
Yeah.
some people would like him to. If he does have a chink in the armor as a major league coach, it's his handling of the bullpen. And it's unfair because when you look at the numbers, we're still a top 5 bullpen. But
Yeah.
but when you watch every game or you listen to every game on the radio and he leaves a guy in there for a little bit too long, or he doesn't, yank them when they need to be yanked, or however you want to phrase it, it leaves a little bit of desire because there's a couple of games where you can look back and say, if he takes them out, maybe we don't lose. And every
Right.
game counts right now because we're chasing the Yankees when we
Yeah.
shouldn't be.
Yeah. I think a lot of that, he puts a lot of faith into Tim Cousins, right? So Tim is going to tell him, hey, look, this guy looks like crap in the bullpen, or he's feeling good tonight and he's got a little extra zip on the ball, or, then I'm sure he's right in Freddie Gonzalez's ear. I mean, Freddie's won, manager of the year as well. There's 2 managers of the year sitting in that dugout. They're all talking all the time. Like, hey, like, what should I do? Like, and I know because Freddie was the manager when Brandon was the AA coach for the Marlins. Like, they've got a very special relationship, and he's always probably saying, Freddie, what do you think? Freddie, what do you think? Or Drew, what do you think? Or Drew, what do you see? And like, I think they're constantly communicating, and they're coming. I don't think Brandon's making these decisions by himself. I feel like he trusts his staff enough to make the decisions with them. So when they make the wrong one, they're making it together, and when they make the right one, they're making it together. So yeah, but as the manager, right, he's going to take the full blame for that every single time. But it's a lot. He relies on his coaches a lot, and as a player, I'll tell you flat out, even if you don't have your best stuff, you're going to say, I'm ready. It's just competitive nature. And it burns the team sometimes, right? But as a manager, you got to kind of trust that guy. So it's a double-edged sword. I think he does it. He does it for what he's got, for what's in the bullpen, and for how much that the organization likes to use the bullpen. Because I feel like they've kind of followed the Buck, 1 inning, that's it kind of strategy. It's tough. I mean, you throw a guy 1 inning every 3 days. It's a lot.
Yeah.
Instead of just letting him go 3, have a day off, and then be able to go again. Like, that's just me. I don't know. That's the only part I don't like.
Yeah. And the thing is, Tim and I talked about it a lot, and you've chimed in on it a lot. And with the way the season's going and with the way we're projected, we're on a 105 win pace or 104 win pace right now, and we're essentially taking 2 out of every 3 games of a series right now, or 3 out of 4 in a 4-game series. We're winning a lot more than we're losing. So a guy like McDermott, a strikeout guy, what purpose is it serving to have him down in the minors right now when now you have Bradish on the shelf until 2026? He's done this
Potentially.
year. He's
Yeah.
done this year. We're halfway through this year, essentially, or at least a little over the third, almost half. You might not see Bradish until if he's even able to the playoffs this time next year.
Yeah.
Means is gone. Wells is gone. Coulomb is gone. Now you're trotting out guys like Vespi, who seems like he has a permanent easy pass between Norfolk and Baltimore. He seems
Yeah.
like he's up and down every other week.
Yeah.
Why not give McDermott a chance to come up here like we did with Povich? I know that Povich is only 3 starts in. His last start was a little shaky with the walks. He has a little bit of he had to get under control. Pitching in New York is a daunting task. So I'm not going to hold that against him in that manner. But we're in a win now situation. You need to have your best arms getting some major league reps. I'm not saying McDermott needs to be the number 4 or the number 3 starter, but you can kind of do with him what you're doing with Suarez. If you need him in the pen for a long arm, or you need him on that 6th day, throw him. At this point, there's no room for. I know there's no room for errors, so to speak, but McDermott would have been up here if we were a 100-loss team. If we were sitting 25 games under 500, he'd be up here right now. So let's just call it what it is. McDermott is wasting away in AAA, and you need to see what you got with him, because if he's not what you want him to be, you can move him.
I think it's more not having an open 40-man position or anybody on the staff left with options. So at this point, you have to cut someone to bring him up. So I think he's that. As soon as there's an injury, he will be here. Or if somebody really just falls off the rocker, so if Baker just gets destroyed again out of nowhere, right? They DFA him, they open the 40-man up, and then they got a spot to be able to pull somebody up. They don't want to get rid of anybody currently.
Right.
It's just not having any room. The minute that there's room, I think he's going to be here.
And we banged on the table for Povich, and I was banging on the table as early as the 2nd week of April, and that was when we had all of our guys. And that was before Bradish even got back. It just seems like it's so crazy, Zach, because we went from having a dominant, scary starting rotation to now we got 2, and then we got a bunch of that's not good for a 50-win ball team right now.
Yeah,
it's crazy, and we're in the toughest month of the season.
Yep,
this is the gauntlet right here,
and they're playing well.
Yeah,
that's the crazy part. I thought going 3-3 with the Phillies and Yankees was a good bonus for this team, but to go 4-2,
and
that's good.
And no team scares us right now. So going into this series with Houston, I'm not scared.
No,
this could be a good litmus test for us to see who we could potentially poach from them if we take the series in 2 out of 3 or we sweep them.
They're 9 games out at that point.
Yeah. So, if they fall, another 2 games back in the next week after that, you're now looking at the All-Star break and you're like, we could get Verlander for a bag of baseballs.
Yeah, it's the AL, when you look at the wild card, is almost already over. Almost. And then when you look at the NL, there's I think 9 or 10 teams that are within 3 games. I want to say there's 6 that are all within a game, and they're all under 500. The NL is so weak, but they're all right there. The AL, it's I think when I was looking at it, it was 1.5 back and then 9. It's drastic in the AL. There's so many good teams, and potentially by the All-Star break, Houston and Texas both could be done for the year.
and that's insane considering Texas is the reigning World Series champions.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. They're what, 9.5 games out too?
I believe so. Yeah, they're looking up at the standings right now, and it's not close. They need to go in here. They need a lot to happen. It's kind of like looking at the football playoffs almost, where you need
Yeah.
X, Y, and Z to happen, and then you got to win the next two, and then it's a convoluted mess for those guys. But
Yeah.
it's really telling that the Orioles are hanging in there, and this is a different ball team, and you can definitely get the sense like they last year when you're watching them, like they knew that they were going to be good.
Yeah.
And they knew that they were going to be another 85, 90 win ball team. They ended up winning 101. And
Yeah.
now this team knows they're damn good. And
Yep.
now we just got to kind of do some shuffling around, go and get somebody. It's just one of those situations where how many moves are we away from truly being that team that dominates, and we see a Philadelphia Phillies again, or we see a Los Angeles Dodgers in the World Series, because the lineup right now doesn't worry me.
Right.
What worries me is going in a 7-game series with the Los Angeles Dodgers. You're going to be able to throw Irvin out there twice if he's the number 3 guy.
Yeah. I don't want to. I gotta
Right.
find this again. I was looking at it earlier. I want to make sure I read this right. Where did I read it at? It might take me a minute to find it. I thought I saw earlier that we have only been shut out twice this year, and I'm trying to find it again to make sure. I don't want to be wrong on that, but I know it's been very minimal. I just forgot where I saw it at. I was looking at it upstairs before we came down here, but here's a good stat for you. I meant to say this earlier. In pitch hitting situations, have you looked at this yet this year?
No, I know you said you were doing your research, and Tim usually does the research too. I like being surprised on the air. That's one of my things.
Pinch hitters this year for the Orioles are hitting 374. They're 31 for 83 with 3 home runs and 12 RBIs. Woo. That's crazy.
I mean, we got 10 or 11 guys that, are capable of playing every single day. So I would hope they can come off the bench and grab us a hit, which they do. It's crazy looking at this team right now. And I know he hit a home run today, and we were eventually going to get to him. But how do you feel about Seti?
I'm going to keep making fun of Seti and saying I'm done with him and we should trade him because he keeps hitting every time I do it. So I'm just going to do it every single day for the rest of the year. If he wants to keep hitting, cool. I'm at that point. Cool. If they feel like that they can upgrade and make the team better, it's going to break a lot of fans' hearts. It's a business to me. I'm fully on board with just making the team better. If he can get to a 240, it's just like Mateo. Get to 240, and a lot of complaints will go away.
I agree with you. It's tough stomaching, especially last week when Tim and I were on the air. He was hitting 179.
Right.
As your starting center fielder on a 50-win ball club, you're hitting 179.
Yeah.
And that's tough to stomach. It really is, when, especially because we love Cedric. This city absolutely adores him.
Mm-hmm. Hell, you don't even have to get 240. Get to 230. I see Brendan there. 240 would be huge. I kind of need to recant that a little bit because, like, 260 is like the new 300s. Get to 230, right? It's just you play good enough defense, right? We can good enough defense at 230. I think the fans would be happy, but it's when you're hitting the 180, it's like the defense can only do so much. At that point, you can't save enough runs on defense that you're costing at the plate. If he wants to keep hitting, I'm fully okay with keeping him in center field every day. He's earned that right from the organization to get the chances that he's had to get himself out of it. And I'm proud of him for doing it. I thought he was mentally just gone, and not that I don't want to play baseball anymore, just so far down in his head that he had to succeed that he was just mentally washed. But it's good to see him coming around. So if he wants to figure it out, it only makes the best lineup in baseball even better.
Yes, and I do agree with you. He does deserve it. He's been here through a lot. He was here through some of the shittier years, and he's now 5 years removed from that 275, 30, 30, type season that he had. I think it was 275 or 285 or something like that, if I do remember correctly. But you want to see, and it's nice that he got hot against the Phillies and the Yankees, because those are 2 teams that we're going to see in October.
Yep.
Late October.
It's a good confidence boost.
It definitely is a good confidence boost. Before we wrap the show up, Zach, my father-in-law Mark is a avid watcher of the show, and he wanted me to ask a question to you. Right now with the pitching, I know that we've been talking about the hitters, but with the pitching, do you think there's something wrong in the organization with the amount of Tommy John injuries that we have, or is this just a fluke year?
It's a good question, because we're not the only organization going through it, but we are. It's almost like the Ravens, where it feels like it's more us than anyone else. I think we were so blessed the last couple of years that it's finally kind of started to catch up a little bit. And I'm gonna kind of say that it's a couple reasons. One, the team started winning, so competitiveness skyrocketed. So you had guys going home, lifting harder, trying to throw harder, work on better spin rates, probably more than ever in this organization, right? Guys probably never did that in years past. On top of already having, ragdoll arms from their, little league coaches, high school coaches, college, whatever. It's all combining league wide into once. I've heard like Buck Showalter say a couple things about it. Verlander said a couple things about it. They changed the leather on the balls recently. There's always been almost no seams whatsoever on a baseball. But they changed the leather recently to where you almost can't grip it. And then they're taking all the sticky stuff away from you. They used to use the sticky stuff for a reason. Yes, you got better control. Yes, you got better spin rates and stuff, but you didn't have to grip the ball as hard. And when you don't grip the ball as hard, you're not putting all the strain right here on this muscle, right? You can just hold it a little bit looser. You can immediately feel this muscle right here relax. I think it's a collective thing league wide. So I don't think it's just the Orioles. I don't think they're doing anything different than anybody else. It's our turn, I guess you could say.
Okay.
We've been blessed for so long.
It's fair. When I was talking to my father-in-law about it earlier, I mentioned to him something that you alluded to, that there's guys in the league right now. There's guys on the team that are trying to crank the ball 4 to 6 miles an hour harder than what they should. I'm going to throw him out there. For instance, John Means. Mm-hmm. If John Means could effectively get people out sitting at 90 to 93 instead of trying to crank it up to 97, like he has been the last couple of years when he's been healthy, maybe he wouldn't have this arm issue. I look, you've played baseball at a high level. I have not. So I know that you know the intricacies of it more, and I respect your opinion on it. But I think it's also magnified a little bit greater because you got a guy like Corbin Burns on this roster and the leading of this pitching staff right now. He's an absolute hoss. He's not a little dude that's throwing heat. He's a monster of a dude. He's a tank out there on the mound, and he just cranks the ball in there, and it looks natural to him.
Yeah.
He doesn't throw a straight four-seam fastball either. He's a cutter guy.
Mhm.
and a lot of his pitches have a lot of movement. But I just think that maybe some of these dudes league wide, not just with the Baltimore Orioles, a lot of these pitchers league wide are trying to hit triple digits on the radar gun, or they're trying to put that extra torque, for the spin rate.
Mhm.
When we were growing up, we didn't even know what spin rate was.
Yeah.
So
Exactly. Analytics ruin baseball, in my opinion. To an extent, everybody's chasing the spin rate. Everybody's chasing the radar gun. I was routinely will throw some shitty comments out on Twitter at one particular page. It's a pitching coach, and he's always posting videos of such and such college guy or high school guy touching 94, 96, 98, right? And I'm watching these pitches. They're either one, they're dead flat, or two, they are nowhere near the zone. And he's like, oh, so and so is throwing 98. And I'm like, his mechanics suck and he can't throw a strike. Like, why are you posting this, and why are you teaching this kid to just, he's maybe 175 pounds soaking wet, to just rear back and just throw it as hard as he can? It's not what
maybe
pitching is.
right, and the thing is, to go back to the conversation with my father-in-law, he said you never saw Maddox getting up in the high 90s, but Maddox, I
Jamie
mean, Maddox
Moyer.
is, he's also the exception, not the rule. Um, it seems like the finesse pitching has kind of gone by the wayside for the power,
Mm-hmm.
and we're seeing a lot more injuries because of it. We're seeing a lot of injuries at the high school and the middle school level. Like when we were in high school, Zach, we went to high school the same time, early to mid 2000s. I don't think I remember one dude getting Tommy John surgery in
I
high
think
school.
just one.
Yeah, I
Just
think
one.
I can recall one guy,
Yeah.
and I can't remember his name, but I just remember it was one person through my 4 years at St. Joe that had
Yep.
Tommy John. But now it's almost like the doctors just go ahead and do it to get it out of the way so they can still throw harder.
Yeah. It's, I don't know what it is. I mean, Jamie Moyer made a living throwing what, 70?
Right.
It's R.A. Dickey, Tim Wakefield. I mean, you don't have to throw 100 miles an hour all the time. It's helpful, sure. Um, but yeah, I mean, look at Batista. And that's what scares me with Grayson. I think Grayson has toned it down. He's not hitting 99 on the regular as much anymore. And I think his
It's his
delivery
out
is
pitch.
definitely not as, yeah, that's it, right? 2 strikes up in the zone. That's it, right? But the rotation and his stride and mechanics are not herky jerky anymore. Like, even when he does it, it looks like Burns, right? It's a fluent, he might grunt a little bit, but it's a fluent 99. It's not, Grayson of 2 years ago that just, who the hell knows where he was throwing it, but he was going in 99.
Right.
But it's definitely a league wide issue. It's below Major League Baseball, minor league baseball. It's these pitching coaches that have a radar gun in their tunnel that are telling a kid, let's hit 94. Like, dude, you're 16. Like, throwing 94 is cool, but you
Throw
still have some
86.
development.
Throw 86 at 16 and let that sucker have some movement.
Yes.
Make guys swing and miss that way. You don't got to be a power pitcher because you're gonna be fried by the time you're 25. At
Yeah.
least in my opinion. But last segment of the show, Zach. It's been a great show. Love having you on. Filling in for Tim. Tim and I always talk about this, and we kind of round out our shows. Who do you believe is going to be the first Oriole to get a mega extension under David Rubenstein?
A mega extension. I'll say probably Grayson.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you gotta lock down pitching, right? Grayson's a quality player. He's still a young kid. He doesn't have Boris. And I believe his contract runs out. Is it the same year as Adley, or it's definitely before Gunnar?
It's before Gunnar. I think it's before Adley. I think he came up before Adley, if I'm not mistaken.
He did a couple months prior, if not.
Yeah.
I think it was the end of the year before Adley came up. But yeah, I don't think his contract started though. I'm pretty sure him and Adley are the same year. Tim would be able to verify for us. But yeah, lock up the arm first. Adley, you're going to get Adley done, and I think they know that. I still think that they look at Adley being 30 years old when his arbitration's up. Mm-hmm. So to give him a long extension at 30, I don't see it happening. Not until they get down to that very final year of arbitration. Okay, is his knees okay? Can he transition to first base? Is he still hitting 280 plus every year? Because let's be honest, like, you could give him a 10-year deal now by his arbitration. And if he hits 30 and he starts hitting 240, like, what value is he? At that point, you just wasted your money. So Adley's to me, a wait and see. Grayson, as long as he doesn't get hurt more than once, I feel like he's going to get hurt at least once. I think he gets the first long one, and then I think Gunnar just breaks a lot of records.
Yeah, Gunnar might be the benchmark for what this new owner is going to do for the Baltimore Orioles, because I'm almost certain Gunnar is going to get $500 million plus.
Yeah.
Now, whether that's over 10 or 15 years, that remains to be seen. But I think it's going to get done here. Boris is kind of doing a little bit of damage control to his image right now. He's definitely mentioned in the media how much his Baltimore clients love the winning atmosphere. So I think he's laying the groundwork to kind of soften his stance on buying out arbitration years.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind an Ohtani type contract. Obviously not backloading it as crazy as the Dodgers did, but almost like a Chris Davis type. Throw money. I don't care if it's 30 years from now and it's $2 million a year. I don't care. Sign Gunnar for whatever and find a way to make it work.
Yeah,
that's
I'm on board with you. Birdland Sports mentioned. I'm sorry, JP mentioned. Is Westberg the future of the Orioles? I think Westberg is going to be an Oriole for a very long time. Excuse me, but I don't think he's going to be an Oriole. I don't think he's going to be playing the position that many people think. Tim and I have talked about it in text messages. I know he's talked to you about it. We're all on the same line of thinking. Westberg is going to be in the outfield by 2026. I think he's going to be our left fielder before this is all said and done. When we moved on from Austin Hayes, I think Gunnar Westberg has the athletic ability. He's fast. He has a fantastic arm. I think he could patrol Baltimore out there rather well. I think you give him an all season. I think he makes a permanent move to the outfield to open up this infield for Kobe Mayo at third base, even though it's going to be a defensive drop-off. And I'm not necessarily on this train as much. We talked about it last week. It's possible, but Jackson might be our future center fielder if we don't trade for one. And maybe and Kowser could be our right fielder.
They got so many holes. Not even holes. They have so much log jams. It all depends. I think everything relies on Mayo. Can Mayo make the throw to first base? If he doesn't, Jordan's going to stay at third. And if Jordan stays at third, I think Jackson stays at second. Especially now Fabian's hitting the ball well. Etzel's hitting the ball well for center fielders. The hole isn't as big now as it was in April, which is good. But I think the entire roster right now has the potential to play anywhere on the field, and the prospects coming up, and that is
insane.
The most valuable thing ever, because you can go and do some insane pinch hitting. Doesn't matter who is hitting where. You don't have to wait. Say late in the game, you don't have to wait for Ryan O'Hearn to hit for his position, right? They say, okay, Ryan, go hit for anybody, because now I've got 3 guys that can go play the position you just hit for. It doesn't matter anymore. It's the ultimate Swiss Army knife. So Westberg, I believe he played almost 20 games in left field in Bowie. I could be wrong on the amount, but he definitely played a lot of outfield in Bowie, and he's good at it. It just depends if Mayo can make the throw. If he does, Westberg, and he's that type of player. It doesn't matter. Brandon says, Jordan, go play left field. Okay. He'll probably go make a diving catch and throw a guy out the plate. It's just what he is,
That's true. It's very true.
So, I mean, he's a guy that I hope he sticks around as long as Gunnar does.
Absolutely. He's definitely in that conversation. I think the conversation is Gunnar, Adley, Westberg, to a degree, Cowser, and then Jackson Holliday's in that conversation as well. I still want to see Jackson hit at the major league level, and
Yeah.
If Westberg doesn't move to left field, another option would be to move him to second base. If Mayo can make the throw and you want to keep the outfield with general outfielders, then, that could work as well. But it's been a wonderful hour talking some Orioles baseball with you, Zach.
Definitely.
Thank you so much for filling in for Tim. I know you've been highly active on our shows, and you've provided a lot of, useful insight and statistical information. Before we wrap the show up, where can everybody on my side find your Pigtown Sports podcast?
So I am on TikTok, Twitter. I have a Facebook page. I don't post to it often. It's more Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and then primarily YouTube is where I do most of the stuff.
There you have it, folks. Zach, thank you so much. This will be available for replay. Chime in with some comments. Zach is very interactive on dialogue as am I and Tim. That'll do it. We'll be back next week. Tim will be back, and that is a wrap for Foul Ball Talk. Thanks again for joining us, Zach.
Appreciate you having me on. Take care, fellas.